Let me just say, just opening, how much I hate Kyrie. I hate, I hate that guy. Like,
Right.
I mean, he's the dumbest motherfucker in the room, and he thinks this smartest,
Yeah,
and
he's
it
the
kills
smartest,
me.
yeah.
It kills me, you know. And he just did it again this week. He couldn't even get it to like preseason. He goes, "Oh, the vaccination thing is one of or the biggest human rights violations in history." You might want to crack open a couple of history books there, Kyrie. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Not to mention, I mean,
such a diva, such a baby.
As a black individual, really?
Right.
Slavery?
Some other violations that might top.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the What Are They Going to Say Now podcast. This is Jay and Tony, and we did the Western Conference rankings already, so we thought we would break down the Eastern Conference for this year. Yeah, I think we talked about last time. Both conferences are really loaded, especially the top of the East, I would say, more so. But, yeah, I had a tough time with the East, too. Maybe a little bit of a tougher time with the West, but what about you, Jay? What do you think?
Yeah, I still had trouble. I still had trouble with a couple teams that I'm going to list them as not making the top 8, and that part was still hard.
Yeah.
I feel like the top of the East was easier than the West.
Yeah, right.
Just because of various reasons. Like, we had the Warriors on top for that, but like I said, injuries could happen. That's always a factor. But I just felt the East is definitely a little more top heavy for sure. Yeah. But it's still deep. It's still very deep. Deeper than the East has been in a long time. I mean, it was such a crap conference for so long. And this isn't to knock LeBron, but the whole, he made the finals all these times, which is obviously impressive, but he wouldn't have made the finals all those times.
Right.
It's like, James Harden's never been in the finals. Yeah. That's because he was losing to the Warriors in the Western Conference finals. Right. So
it's kind of funny that he came to the West and then, he did win one title, but
but he's missed the playoffs twice. Yeah, he's missed the playoffs twice. Yeah,
right.
No, I mean it's really true. So I feel like that stat is LeBron's finals appearances is overrated, right? But it's also very impressive still too.
It is.
It's hard to do that. It can be both things. Yeah,
exactly.
Anyway, but let's go back to the East now. Do you want me to go first with my order?
Sure.
And we can lay the orders out, not going into details, just lay our orders out, and then we'll talk about the teams.
Sounds good.
So I have on top, I have the Milwaukee Bucks with the 1 seed. I have the 76ers with the 2 seed. Ooh. I have Miami with the 3 seed. And I feel like Miami often gets overlooked, and they were the 1 seed last year. Boston Celtics with the 4 seed. We're going to have a lot to talk about there. I have, and by far the most difficult team to rank and predict, and I think we both know who this is. I have the Nets back in,
okay.
And for our listeners who don't know, Tony and I both grew up together here in Sonoma, California, where I still am. Tony's in New Jersey, so he'll have more of the local insight on the Nets as the season progresses. I have them in the fifth spot. Who knows? Who knows, right? 6th, I have the Cavs. 7th, I have the Atlanta Hawks. 8th, Chicago Bulls. 9th, Toronto Raptors, which was really hard to not even have them in the top 8. So that's where it got tricky. Charlotte Hornets getting better and better. The poor Knicks, that was also really tricky. I have them there despite some moves they made that could be really good for them. So I felt bad about that one, and I feel. If someone wants to, rub it in my face later that I had the Knicks 11th, that's totally fair. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a solid spot in the playoffs. I wouldn't be. Yeah. Pistons, Pacers, Wizards, Magic.
Gotcha.
How's mine? How's your look? How different is yours than mine?
Pretty close. There's definitely some notable changes I had, and I don't feel super confident about this list. I'm throwing things out. But yeah, I got Bucks at 1. I had the Celtics back at 2. I know. I think we swapped Celtics and Sixers. You had Sixers
I did in my
so.
original list. I had the Celtics too.
Yeah. So I mean, with the whole situation with them, it could be different this year. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I got the Heat at 3, Sixers 4, Hawks at 5. I have the Raptors 6, and then the Nets.
Yeah.
I know. I have no idea.
And then the Nets. And the Nets, yeah.
And the Nets, Nets at 7. I have the Cavs being 8, which, I wanted to rank them high because I think they're actually going to be really good. They got Mitchell now, and I think they have a really good young core, but, it's tough. All these teams are good. So
I actually think the East is going to be more interesting to talk about changes to teams versus the West.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Bulls coming in behind them at 9 for me. Hornets at 10, like you had. Knicks at 11. And then I have, just the bottom teams, Indiana, Washington, Detroit, and Orlando at 15. So
same. So pretty similar rankings.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, they're going to have Chris Middleton back. That's huge.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the interesting thing. A lot of, I want to say a lot of Boston fans got a little cocky about how they're just going to roll right back. Until recent events, they're just going to roll right back to the finals and all that. And my thoughts are, well, a fully healthy Milwaukee team, would they have beat them? And I don't like
they wouldn't have got
injury
there,
speculation.
Right.
They might have. They were a good team. So who knows? But I guarantee you Milwaukee's hungry, especially after, they had the ring, and then Middleton was a huge loss. He's their second best player, him and
100%.
Drew Holiday.
Yep.
But so missing him was huge. And really you saw in the playoffs, missing him and his outside perimeter scoring ability, and how that plays off Giannis.
Right.
It was a huge
It was a big loss.
So,
yeah.
And I mean, Giannis is, he is right now. You're like, for me, pick a player to start the team with based on their age.
Right.
100%. I think you both, for 1 year, I'll give me Steph.
Yep.
But for starting a franchise and who I want over the next 5-7 years, it's Giannis still. I mean, he's a beast. He's incredible. So
fully dominant. Yeah. Yeah. No,
I mean, there's other arguments there. You could say Jokic or whatever, but I like Giannis a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he's just
a
good leader, and he tells great dad jokes. I mean, that's not to be overlooked.
He does love his jokes. Yeah.
Yeah. He said he's holding off during media day.
Did he? I don't know. I heard him say one yesterday about.
Did he?
I thought he said on his shoes, like some kind of joke written on his shoes.
I thought I heard him say he's going to really hold off on the dad jokes till the season gets started, and then he's really going to.
He also said Steph is the best, apparently. So I was like, okay, Giannis.
He flatters a lot of players. He said a lot of people are best, but he does. They do like each other and respect their games. It always would have been fun to see them team up together. Although it could have been another.
Can you imagine?
It would be like the league's unfair again. It'd be another KD situation.
Yeah,
it would just be, and you could actually argue that Steph and Giannis would complement each other far more than him and KD did, because you got the outside inside thing going and being unstoppable. And I mean, we saw some crazy, like the bounce pass alley-oop game, which led to all that speculation.
Oh yeah.
So I think
they're going to be good. I think missing Middleton last year was huge for them, like you said in the playoffs. He's a tough shot maker, right? Like he's a very good, like mid-range kind of like gets to the hole, does dirty work.
He can initiate his own offense too. That's a big deal.
So you take that away, and Giannis is on his own. You do have Drew Holiday also, but that three-headed monster was not there. And
I feel like that is the biggest difference between casual fans and more dedicated fans, and those who look at box scores and stats. And efficiency is very important. I mean, hey, we are Warriors fans. We love efficiency, right? But being able to initiate your own offense, your own shot, is a really big deal. And if your team doesn't have enough players who can do that, it's a problem. And we saw it with the Warriors when KD went down. No one else could get it going. I mean, Clay is fantastic. I mean, he was already down, but Clay isn't really initiating his own offense. But that's why Jordan Poole was such a revelation, because he could initiate his own buckets, especially
we needed that.
Step off the floor. He was great.
Right.
So that was why he was, so important. And I think that aspect, especially for Milwaukee with Middleton, is not to be taken lightly. So, okay. Next up, you had Boston second. I had the Sixers. You want to talk about the Sixers first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was going to be interesting to see Harden. I mean, we know, when he was in New Jersey, Brooklyn, sorry. And the hamstring injury clearly had slowed him down a bit, and he wasn't quite the same effective guy. He takes the team-friendly deal to add to his squad around with him, which you got to respect that. He wants to win. Yeah. I mean, that's why he asked out of Brooklyn, because Kyrie and his nonsense. And I think he's just had enough. Kyrie has a ring to fall back on. Harden wants a ring badly.
Right.
I mean, he's going to be on that list right now of greatest players of all time to not get a ring. He's clearly on there. I'm not the biggest Harden fan, but I can acknowledge that. I mean, he's great. So I actually really like, and I like Embiid. Yeah. And I think those guys have a really good inside out game between those guys. If Harden comes back in good shape, which, I mean, he has a reputation for coming, they always talk about, strippers and chicken wings in the off season. And, by the way, Harden's on my list though, of, while I don't like his game, of guys I would like to party with. I bet you he's fun.
You wouldn't forget it.
Hang.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what kind of shape he comes in the camp. How his hamstrings feeling? Is he got a little bit of his quickness back? That team could be. It's a bummer for them. They had to lose Seth Curry for the outside shooting.
Yeah.
But Maxey really showed something in the playoffs, and he's young. Good. Like, was this his second season last year?
He might be third, maybe.
But he's a young player, and he really stepped up his game. So that team could be a force. That's why I have them second.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be good this year. I just worry a little bit about Embiid. Playing full season. He tends to miss some games with this or that. But yeah, they're going to be good. They picked up PJ Tucker, which I think is a real nice veteran pickup.
Really nice pickup. He was always he was shooter, those years in Houston. He
knows Harden.
He would knock down great shots in Houston during those battles. And then in
good pieces.
And then in Miami too.
Yeah.
And he's just he's a good defensive player too.
Yeah. DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris, Tybal, they have a nice core around Embiid and Harden.
I can't believe I forgot Tobias Harris. Yeah. I mean, he's on a max contract too.
I know. That's the problem with him.
Do you know who's very aware of that? Jimmy Butler.
Tobias Harris over me?
They probably regret that decision, I'm guessing. Yeah.
That was brutal. Yeah, Jimmy likes to keep a few chips on his shoulder. No kidding.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The whole Timberwolves team. Yeah, he's...
Okay, and then we'll talk about Boston. And this will be interesting. So, very interesting this past week with Ime Udoka. Did I say that correctly?
Udoka. Yeah.
Udoka.
Yeah.
And the way the story unfolded was sloppy. It was just at first it was he's suspended for a year, and rumors of an inappropriate relationship, right? It was a consensual relationship, not rumors, consensual relationship. And it's like, wow, okay. I mean, I get that it's policy, and it seemed harsh. And then it was,
especially when they were going to give Sarver a year for much worse offenses. It felt like,
so it seemed harsh. And then like 12 hours later or whatever, very shortly after, then it's like, oh, well, supposedly when the relationship ended, there was still some unwanted advances and some inappropriate behavior. And okay. And then there's these rumors coming about who it is. And then the internet goes wild, speculating about every female in the Celtics organization, which is really messed up. And they're pulling pictures, and speculating on these people's marriages, and just it's horrible. Yeah. And then the Celtics came out yesterday or the day before, and we're basically shaming the internet for reacting that way, which is so ridiculous to me because they presented it that way.
Right.
You either have to come out.
They didn't give people the details to not, kind of run wild with, basically. You leave people to speculate. It's going to get.
You either have to come out and map it out very specifically. Maybe not naming names. I don't know how you do that, to be honest.
Yeah,
but it's also I'm not their PR department. But you can't provide enough fodder and then just hang it out there and then expect no one to speculate. Of course they're going to speculate. I mean, have you seen ESPN in the last 15, 20 years?
Right.
Of course. So, I mean, honestly, the way to handle it, and I guess it was a consensual relationship, and then it turned into a bad unwanted advances. And so for the woman, that's not fair to just out her. Absolutely. So, what they probably should have done is just buttoned it up and said, internal policy violations, we're not going to discuss it further. He's suspended for a year, and that's it. And just leave it a huge mystery.
Not give as many details as they did. Right.
Yeah. You either do it one way or the other. You can't expect there to be no speculation. Of course there's some speculation. Right. So I think they just did a really horrible job as an organization handling that. And it's a very delicate, tricky situation.
I still think we don't know all the details either. I know there was a post
Matt
by
Barnes.
Matt Barnes.
Is that what?
And that kind of, when I heard,
and he had the same reaction. He had the same reaction that I did. I was like, that seems like no reaction. And then
when he came out and said the other statement, I was
said it's 100 times worse than I thought originally.
That makes me, I'm now kind of worried. I'm like, because he's not one to like, kind of mince words, and like if he feels something, he's really going to say it and stand behind it. Like I don't think he would have retracted it that much if it wasn't something really bad. So,
and if he knows, and I'm sure he has, plenty of connections throughout the NBA sources. If he knows, other people know, and everyone's. I am shocked that it still hasn't come out.
Yeah,
I'm totally amazed that it hasn't come out.
I'm kind of glad.
A lot of people must know.
I don't want those things, depending on what it is. I mean, you're talking about that could really ruin someone's life. I mean,
right.
So
that's an interesting situation for the Celtics. Just that, so they're going to lose their coach, and the rumor has it that they're really just putting it all together legally, and then he's gone and he's done.
Right.
And I've heard speculation, maybe Woj said it or someone said it.
Oh, that he's done? Like he won't come back after a year?
Like he won't coach in the NBA again. He won't coach in the NBA again. But who knows? I mean, Jason Kidd's coaching in the NBA now. Not
right.
Dig up, skeletons.
Some allegations there. Yeah. 100%.
More than allegations, I guess. But regardless, that's anyway. So never is quite a big statement, and he's a good coach, which we saw last year. So that happens, and before that, Robert Williams, right, the Time Lord, as they call him.
Yeah.
Knee is he going to come back later in the season, or is he out?
I think he's another one who's out in the beginning of the season. I want to say 8 to 12 weeks, something like that. So,
and man, tough. I was really impressed by him in that series, the final series.
He's a game changer
against the Warriors. He was swatting shots.
Everything.
He was blocking everything, and he was
changed
all over the place.
Our whole
I was very impressed.
Game plan. Yeah,
I was. He honestly, I mean, he was on my radar from watching some Celtics games, but man, in some of those playoff series and especially the finals, I was really, really impressed. So that's a huge loss for much of the season, and those knee injuries. We'll see how long it takes to come back. And but the Celtics did sign Brogdon, which is a great signing for them.
Big signing for them.
And then who else did they sign? And then he got injured. It was it was another signing, and then he got injured.
Signing.
Yeah. Trying to remember. Well, anyway, we can revisit that.
Yeah.
At some point. But anyway, Brogdon is a really nice addition. So, I mean, they're going to be good. Oh, and the other aspect is, how is Jaylen Brown going to fill after being on the trade block for KD? The one side is, hey, it's KD. He's a top 15 player of all time. Right. Don't be insulted. Be flattered. Be flattered, in fact. On the other side of it, he finally put it together with Tatum. Remember middle of the year last year, there was so much speculation about you had to trade one or the other, and they, were adamant, no, we're together and we're going to do this. And then they really stepped on the gas, and they were like the best team in the second half, took it all the way to the finals. That chemistry was great. And so there's just been so much turmoil with the Celtics. And then now is that going to be an issue? Feeling slighted. Does he need to prove he's the man just as much as Tatum?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think it definitely could go that way. This list was so hard to make because I'm thinking about it. I just feel like that momentum from them making the finals and the statements they had after the finals, we feel like we were the better team, this and that. And I feel like they weren't.
They weren't.
Newsflash, they weren't. But
you lost the last 3 games in a row, 2 of them in your house.
Right.
Stop.
Exactly. But I think they're going to carry that confidence and that momentum into next year. I feel like, Tatum is going to want to prove that, his finals performance was a fluke and that, he really is that guy. You know what I mean? He's the guy in Boston. I feel like Jaylen Brown's only getting better. He had a great finals, in my opinion. He kept them in games. He won games for them.
I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan as a Cal grad too. He went to Cal, right. So I've been following him. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I feel like they're going to have a good year. But with all the controversy, Robert Williams, they could easily slide back a few spots also. So,
and that's why I dropped them. I dropped them to my 4th spot, just because I think there's going to be new coach, figuring that out. True. Just all those little things. I think
makes sense.
And I mean, they had, we saw it last year, and they didn't turn them on and put it all together until the second half. And I could see that happening again because with everything that's just happened. So, but I mean, they're a threat for sure, just to go right back and win it all as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's quite a tandem on the top. So
yeah, and I think we both had next Miami, right?
Yeah, I had Miami 3rd just because you'd never sleep on Eric Spoelstra.
Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra,
he's such a good coach. He's such a good coach. He always pulls it together. People kind of forgot they were the 1 seed last season. They were the 1 seed, and they came an ill-advised Jimmy Butler 3-point attempt, which I still can't believe he did that, away from going to the finals.
I don't know. I
Jimmy Butler last year was like
I didn't hate the shot.
27%. He was a 27% 3-point shooter.
It was an open 3.
Take it to the hole. He's open 3, but he's not a good 3-point shooter. Take it to the hole. And I know he was exhausted. He was dealing with a knee injury.
That's I think what they were thinking. We don't want to tie. We want to end this and go home.
I know, but he had been getting to the line all night. Take it to the hoop. Get the foul. Maybe an and 1 situation, right? And
I hear you.
So I mean, I'm not gonna whatever. He was going for it. That's definitely his mentality, but regardless, they were just a shot away from going to the finals. So,
absolutely.
And I feel like once again they're being overlooked. Like they'll probably end up being the 1 seed again. Watch. So
they could. I mean, I think that's the perfect example of a team that just with good players in their system, the system they run, they're always going to be at the top of that list. If it's not 1, it's 2 or 3. They're always going to be one of those teams that's there at the end, that's battle tested, and a team you don't want to see in the playoff series. Because they've been through all the wars, So.
Okay, so next up, I had them in the 5 seed spot, but again, Brooklyn Nets. You had them what, 7th?
7, yep.
Yeah, and when we did the Western preview, I kind of misspoke and said like the highest variance team in the league is Minnesota, and that's not true at all. It's Brooklyn, by the longest. It's not even close. They could be a 1 seed. They could miss the playoffs. Kyrie could try and hop to the moon with Jeff Bezos, and then Bezos will show him the earth is not flat.
Right.
And I mean, Brooklyn, America's team. They're just so likable. Everybody loves them.
Right. Right.
I mean, my outside interpretation is even in New York, no one gives a shit about the Brooklyn Nets. It's Knicks territory. And it's just, right? I mean,
I think I told you
is that fair?
I went and saw a game last year where they played the Warriors in Brooklyn, and it had to be half full of Warriors fans. And by the end, it was all Warriors fans because it was a blowout on the Warriors end. So, yeah, they're not the most loyal fan base, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, man, KD blew it. If you want to go to New York and be loved, like I mean, we both agree. We totally understood why he left the Warriors. It's Steph's team. Steph, right. Draymond, and Clay, but it's especially Steph's team. And no matter what, Steph's team. And, KD says he doesn't care, but he's on Twitter and he wants the love. Come on, he wants the respect. Man, if he had gone to the Knicks, do you know how he would be the superhero of New York if he'd gone to the Knicks? Even if they didn't win a championship.
I don't know how much more winning they would have done, but I could see people feeling better about that move.
I mean, that was some shade right there, but I mean, he's good. Come on. But
no, he's good. He is good. Yeah. I don't think the Knicks are good.
No. I mean, anyway, but I mean, he would just be, king of New York, right?
Yeah.
Just for coming there.
Oh yeah. He'd be loved. Yeah. Never.
Yeah. And I never understood Maybe Kyrie was already in Brooklyn at that point, so I guess that's part of it. But it always just struck me as odd. Maybe James Dolan really sucks, and he just didn't want any part of it. I don't know, but it's kind of a shame. I kind of wanted him to, if he's going to leave the Warriors, go to the Knicks, go turn another round, and you could be absolutely beloved. So it's strange. So anyway, we've gone off the point here. Let me just say, just opening, how much I hate Kyrie. I hate that guy. Like, right. I mean, he's the dumbest motherfucker in the room, and he thinks this smartest, and
he's
it kills
the
me.
smartest, yeah.
It kills me, And he just did it again this week. He couldn't even get it to like preseason. He goes, "Oh, the vaccination thing is one of or the biggest human rights violations in history." You might want to crack open a couple of history books there, Kyrie. Are you kidding me? Right. Are you kidding me? Not to mention, I mean,
such a diva, such a baby.
As a black individual, really?
Right.
Slavery?
Some other violations that might top.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I hate him so much. He needs to just stop talking. Just stop.
And it just makes KD's decision, I mean, look, they could go and pull off a couple championships after this and make us all look wrong. But to this point, hindsight 2020, it makes KD's decision to leave Steph to go with a guy like that. It just makes it look ridiculous and crazy. And I think that's part of why the whole KD debacle this summer happened. I think he was just like, I made a mistake. Get me out of here. I think they talked him back into it, but yeah.
And then, so talking about this team in this upcoming season, I mean, KD tried to have Steve Nash fired.
Right. There's a lot of turmoil there.
And Sean Marks. And that's one thing. He's the GM. He's in his office. He'll be around the team, I'm sure, quite a bit. I mean, Steve Nash, that's day in and day out. He's your coach.
Right.
That has to be interesting. And I mean, you can't even try and assess what is going to happen with this team. You have KD in that whole situation. Kyrie is Kyrie.
They both have injury history.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy enough. And then we have Ben Simmons coming back from not playing the year, back surgery. I was skeptical at first, but actually I believe the mental health stuff that he was going through. I thought it was, the way it all unfolded seemed a little skeptical. It was like, as soon as he wasn't getting paid by Philly, then suddenly the mental health part comes out. Right. But, maybe he didn't really want to make that public. I mean, it's pretty personal. And so I'm going to give him a pass on all that. I mean, nothing needs a pass from me or anybody. But it's interesting. And man, this is going to be an interesting team to watch.
The interesting thing to me is I actually think that they could be a really, really good squad. Like, if all pieces are together, healthy, and like, you get a full commitment from Kyrie, KD plays his best, and you got Ben Simmons, who's the defensive, juggernaut, and Seth Curry. I mean, you know what I mean? You got some of these other pieces they added as well. Like, was it Joe Harris?
They're really good on paper.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you don't play on paper is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, they could win it all, or miss the playoffs again, or get swept in the first round again.
I just feel like Kyrie's track record of late, really for a while now, is
he can't help himself.
Blow it up.
He's going to mess it up. He's going to mess it up. Right. And it's interesting that, I mean, the speculation is that KD asked for the trade because you said about like how things went down with Harden leaving and whatever. Well, that's on Kyrie.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure Harden never said it directly, but there was observations, and Kyrie's burning sage in the locker room, and Harden's just like, fuck is this guy doing, and I'm out of here, and I don't blame him. So, but I mean, KD has this, I think he's got Stockholm syndrome with Kyrie. Like,
Kyrie,
he's captor, and then he just
I think he hitched his wagon to him to like abandon him and kind of say, oh, well, I made a mistake. I really should have stayed with the other guys, or, I should have gone to New York, like you said. that's admitting defeat and admitting that, he made a mistake. And I think I don't know that he's wanting to do that. So, but it was ugly there for a while this summer. And, I think it is going to take some time to mend those bridges. So that's why I have them ranked a little lower this year. I just don't see that. I can't see them not making the play-in or playoffs. They're too talented. But but I mean, it does depend on health and
and who knows what's going to happen with Kyrie. Right. Not to mention, I mean, even before COVID and all that, Kyrie didn't play a lot either. He would get injured all the time, which happens. He'd skip games to go to his sister's birthday,
right?
Which is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a birth of a child or something. It's just your sister's birthday.
Yeah.
He went on a trip and skipped a couple games, I believe,
right,
and then didn't even bother to tell Steve Nash. Right? Steve Nash was like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I mean, that's just unbelievable behavior.
That's got to be frustrating as a coach and a GM. You're dealing with a guy who you can't count on like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I don't think. I mean, we're big believers in chemistry, and I just don't think there's going to have chemistry. I mean, again, the whole thing with Steve Nash is that's just going to be. We don't even know if Steve Nash is a good coach yet or not.
Right.
He got reviews for his side work when he was in Golden State, which is why I think KD signed off on him originally. But then
he has a lot of respect.
Kyrie's like, well, it's really a group coaching thing. It's just so it's so disrespectful. So you can't even tell if Steve Nash is a good coach or not. He kind of gets hit. He gets insulted a little bit for lack of rotations or whatever. But I mean, look, your star players are completely acting like you're irrelevant at the same time. So which one is it?
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in, which is why I think some people were surprised he took that job. But I mean,
it's a head coaching gig. You got to just go for it when you got the chance.
Absolutely.
So I mean, they got to get some cameras in there for the 30 for 30.
That would be must see TV for sure. For sure. Hard Knocks, Brooklyn Nets style, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on Brooklyn too much, but that's going to be interesting. I do have one question for you, being in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, New York is Knicks territory. Do you feel that New Jersey still leans pretty hard to Brooklyn because they used to be in New Jersey? They were the New Jersey Nets before.
That's a good question. I haven't met a ton of Nets fans out here, to be completely honest. I kind of think that New Jersey's, I would say, would probably still lean more Knicks heavy, just because the Knicks have been that's an institution. Yeah, the Knicks are the Knicks.
I really want the Knicks to do well. I really do. They have like great diehard fans.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, and they deserve it. So, I mean, look how excited they were when they made the playoffs 2 years ago.
Right. It reminds me of the Warriors before they had a lot of success. They're just day in, day out. They're successful. It's still the most expensive ticket in this area is getting a Knicks ticket, which is, crazy because they've been pretty bad. So
I've never been there. I want to go to that arena.
It's an experience for sure. I definitely recommend.
I should see when the Warriors are going to be out there. That would,
that's a pricey ticket though, man. I'm talking about probably,
even worse than Chase Center.
More. Yeah, seriously. I mean, because I tried to go to the game last year when it's actually the game that Steph broke the record on.
That's right. That's right.
3-pointers. I was looking for tickets before that, and of course, then I was kind of keeping my eye on it. I didn't get them like a month or two before, and then I was looking at it going up to that record being broken, and it was like ridiculous amount of money to get in the door. So. And then you
went to the Warriors Brooklyn game earlier in the season last year, which was a fantastic game. Steph goes off.
Oh yeah.
And KD falls apart and just doesn't even play the fourth, I think.
Right.
It was a bad. Yeah. So you had good seats there. What did that ticket go for?
I want to say maybe $150, something like that.
Oh wow.
It was pricey. Yeah.
I mean, you can't even. Well, no. I mean, you can't even sit up top and chase up high. It's $250.
Oh, right.
You know,
Yeah.
and not to mention that's just your average game. Not, I mean,
Right.
when the Warriors come to town right now, Warriors come to town, LeBron and the Lakers
Especially
come to
in
town.
New York.
It
Yeah.
tracks, you know, the prices go up. So
Oh, yeah.
that's, I mean, 150 is expensive, but it's not
Right.
that bad because now that my my sense of cost with that around here is so warped.
You're like, that's
Yeah.
a deal.
Yeah, we do have to look at the calendar for me to hop out to
Oh,
your neck of the
100%.
woods and just go see Warriors in Brooklyn because that'll be fun to
Yeah,
watch too.
it would be
and,
fun.
and I like
Absolutely.
$150 ticket sounds a lot better.
Barclays is a nice venue too. I've seen a couple events there, and I really like the layout and the style of it. And they have the whole black and white decor in there and stuff, and just it's a classy venue that I like going to. So yeah, I'll
How old is
definitely
that arena? It's not that old, right? It's
No.
pretty.
No, because I actually used to live in that area.
It's
when I
like
first
7,
moved
8
to
years
New
at
York.
this point, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, less than 10. So
Right. All right. Let's move on from the Nets.
okay.
We next up, at least on my list, is I had the Cavs in the 6th spot. What'd you have them as?
Cavs I had as number 8.
Right, and like we said, it's just tough to rank at this point.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Who
really
knows?
close, just like
Right.
the West.
Yep.
The Cavs got Donovan Mitchell, kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the
New York.
Knicks, and really the Knicks dominated. Maybe Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and then out of nowhere, the Cavs just snagged them in that
Mhm.
trade. A lot of draft picks for sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because the Cavs have such a solid young core. And even, I mean, they looked pretty good in the playoffs last
Mhm.
year. And that was injuries, right? With injuries.
Yeah.
So that young core, and you bring in Mitchell, they could surprise a lot of teams.
I think they're going to be good. That they have the center tandem that you don't really see a lot in the NBA anymore. Jared Allen.
They're still one of the youngest teams in the league right now
yeah,
as well,
Mobley,
right?
And Mobley
Yeah.
was a rookie last year, and just I think he surprised a lot of people.
Everyone
just being
is
dominant.
really big on Mobley turning into a superstar.
Yep.
And I mean, Mitchell's been in a couple All-Star games. He's turning 26.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's right
I
in the
mean, you
middle
got a
of
bunch
his
of
prime,
players
or the
on the
beginning of his
rise or
prime.
going into their prime in the next
Mhm.
couple of years. I mean, this isn't going to be their year,
Right.
but next year, I think we're going to have them higher on this list.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have them 8, but I debated putting them as high as like 5th seed. I think they'll be somewhere within that
Yeah.
5th to 8th.
They're going to be a rough, if they come in the 7th or 8th seed, that's a rough matchup for your first round, for your
Oh, yeah.
first or second seed to play them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mitchell's an interesting player. Obviously, I mean, we've seen him in the playoffs for the Jazz a couple times just be a force on offense.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to work on his defense. That's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
Like we
I mean,
say with a lot of good scorers,
Right.
you got to focus on the other side because it all
Yeah.
matters.
I think he's going to have similar defensive backbone to what he had in Utah with Rudy Gobert. He's going to have that kind of defensive line also in Cleveland. So it's it's not as bad as it could be with a really, really bad defensive team. He'll have some help there, but he definitely should, he's athletic enough. He should be a better defender than he is.
Do you buy into those rumors and maybe some, not just rumors, but comments that were said that him and Gobert just hated each other?
I definitely think there was, I don't know if I could say hate. I don't
Disliked.
think I don't think they cared for each other. Yeah. I mean,
There was definitely a beef over the COVID thing with Gobert
Right.
touching all the microphones, right?
Yeah. And,
It seems like a lot of
he
players
got a
don't like
little-
Gobert. It seems like a lot of players don't like him.
yeah.
Maybe he's just too French.
I was going to say the foreign player thing, I think it shouldn't be that way, but I think they kind of do get a bad rap. And then, he did some things to not endear himself to Utah. Would, say he wasn't getting the ball enough and he needed to score more and these kind of things. And
And there was that funny stat going around about how Mitchell would like not pass the ball to Gobert.
Oh yeah.
And it was quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. So I always felt like at some point that would end. Either one of them would leave. It's funny that they both left in the same off season.
Well, and it's telling that Quinn Snyder just quit.
He left first.
It's like we're just doing this over and over again.
Right.
I'm out.
That was a sign, I think, that it wasn't long.
I kind of respect Utah. Go all in and blow it up then. Might as well.
I mean,
instead of continuously having good regular seasons, you end up as a top seed and then you just lose.
I feel like when you try that over and over with more or less the same team and it doesn't work, 5 years in a row, it's time to change something.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how it works out with Gobert in Minnesota and then Mitchell in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of hindsight speculation or analysis of who was holding that Utah team back, who wasn't, So,
yep.
All right. Next up on my list, and man, I had them in the 7th spot, the Atlanta Hawks. And in hindsight, I feel stupid. I feel like they should be higher.
I have them at 5th spot. But
yeah, I think you're right. I think they should be higher because
I don't know. I mean,
we talked about in the Western analysis and the Spurs, we talked about DeJounte Murray, and he's really, really good, and he's a good defender.
Yeah.
And he seems perfect to play alongside someone like Trae Young, who is not good at defense. And
they got to keep John Collins.
There's a balance there.
I thought they'd have to get rid of Collins, and some of their other pieces to get him. They were able to keep him. They still have Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella. Like, they have a really solid core already, and they did pretty well without DeJounte Murray. So you add him in. That's a powerful backcourt. He's a very good two-way player. So
and Trae Young has potential to. I mean, he's already been an all-star, and he had that big breakout series against the Knicks, the year before last. But he still has the potential now he's young, to take a leap and take it to another level. So that team, again, I have him 7th, and it already feels dumb. Maybe they should be higher, probably. But who knows? I mean, but they were barely in the play-in last year. But that was without having DeJounte Murray on the team. Right. So,
and I feel like they had some other injuries.
How could they not be better? How could they not be better than last year?
Like was Collins out in the playoffs for them? I feel like they had some other injuries.
They had some injuries. Yeah, I forget who, but that was part of it.
But no, I do think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year, and I mean that's a solid starting 5 at least. So
yeah,
you got to see what they can do in the East. So
next up, I had. In the 8th, I had the Chicago Bulls. Where'd you have them?
I had them at 9, so pretty close. Yeah.
I heard just this morning Lonzo Ball had another surgery on his knee.
Yeah, it's not good.
That sucks. I'm, the whole Ball family, and their dad being annoying, and all that, and the sneakers and the scam and everything. I was really not big on Lonzo, but. And also his shooting motion. That's why I was really skeptical of shooting motion. Man, he changed his mechanics, cleaned up his shot, and became a really good 3-point shooter. He was, before he got injured last year, he was over 40%.
Oh yeah.
So you got to give props to a guy who puts his ego aside, makes those changes, puts the work in, and does it. And that was really great to see. So I kind of became a fan of his a little bit almost, which never thought I'd say that. And now it sucks. He's hurt, and now this injury's dragging out, and another surgery. I guess is the second surgery now on the knee today.
I believe so.
I didn't pick up the details, but that just sucks.
It does. I was actually surprised that New Orleans got rid of him because I feel like he, kind of meshed with some of those players well, and Zion and that kind of young nucleus, Brandon Ingram, and they moved on from him, and he, along with DeMar DeRozan and that whole unit in Chicago, they were humming. I mean, they were number 1 seed.
Yeah, they started out really hot last year. Zach LaVine was playing really well, right? He just got paid, didn't he? He got his big contract.
Yeah, I believe he got an extension.
So I mean, that team's another one that's interesting. We have them low down. They could surprise some teams
if they
could
get Lonzo back healthy. I mean, soon, I don't know how long that's going to take.
And And
I think they
DeRozan was
could be.
playing out of his mind
Oh,
too. So I
yeah.
mean, if you can keep some of that going,
Yeah, what
they
do you
kind
have, like
they kind of lost their
three game
wind.
winners in a row? Something crazy. He had like a
Yeah, he
stretch
did.
where he was on fire. So
Yeah. Next on my list, I had Toronto in the 9th spot, and don't feel good about that one either. They could very much be higher than that, and it feels disrespectful for me to even have them there.
it's the East, man. The top of the East, like we said, is top heavy like the West. I have them at 6, but it could go either way. I just feel like really well coached.
I think I like your Eastern ranking list better than mine. I think I like yours better.
Like I said, I don't feel great about it either, but I just feel like they're very well coached. I mean, we saw that in the finals against the Warriors. Nick Nurse is really good, really inventive.
He's a really good coach.
Siakam had a great year last year. I think
he came back from an injury, right?
There was some questions.
Then he played really well.
Yeah, I think he didn't have a great year the year before that, but last year he played really, really well.
And people are certainly high on Scotty Barnes.
Oh, Scotty Barnes.
Very high on him.
Yeah.
I almost feel like maybe he's overhyped at this point, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But I mean,
there was some talk about basically them not trading for KD because of Scotty Barnes. Like that.
Yeah, Barnes was off the table because
I was like, I know he's good, but like really, but
KD's 35, right?
And has a lot of history and baggage and all that. So and to find a good young wing is not easy. So I think they're going to be solid. I think they're going to be right there in the middle of the pack.
Well, if you're Toronto, you think, well, you can't just trade for a player just like that and win a championship. Oh wait.
Why? 1 year rental.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's still wild
before.
how that all went down.
Oh man.
And then Kawhi leaves, which he said he was going to anyway, but they win the championship, obviously with some mentioning KD,
big caveats.
Some getting injured, but injuries happen. Right. So the Warriors had been to 5 straight finals. That's a lot of miles on your players. Injuries are going to happen eventually. So, I hate the, if so-and-so wasn't injured. I mean, it's really easy to say, if Clay and KD weren't hurt, did the Warriors beat them? Well, yeah, probably. But you know what?
Them's the break.
It's part of the game, and you can only play who's in front of you. So that's
exactly.
that.
Because you hear that about
all that speculation. I hate
you hear that about 2015 too.
Do you know how many? Somehow the Warriors made basketball boring, but then somehow they've lost every theoretical matchup that everyone's thrown out there. They lost them all. Oh,
Rockets
they really have no rings. No rings.
OKC fans. Yeah.
So, okay.
The next team I have on my list is all the way down at number 10 with the Hornets, which I think you might have had it.
I have them in the 10 spot too. Okay. And they're getting better.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just a rough team to be a fan of. Actually, probably worse than the Sacramento Kings. Yeah. Although I think they have more. Well, the Kings have hope, but they actually have more hope over there in Charlotte.
Yeah.
With LaMelo Ball. Speaking of their ball,
exciting. Yeah.
And he's looked great.
Yeah, there was some off the court issues with them. With Miles Bridges, he had like an assault case, or
he's done. Yeah, he's
that's and
that wasn't just
even putting them at 10. I was hesitant because
he's going to be in jail, right? I
believe so. Yeah.
The kid is testifying, and he's like beating up his mom.
Yeah,
in front of her, and
he might be out
pictures and
for good. Yeah.
Not that there's any good cases like that, but that one's it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was about to get a huge contract.
Oh yeah. Just the connection they had, and they were an exciting young team. They still have some good pieces. They have Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, former Warrior. Rozier, Terry Rozier is still there. He's a good
I like him.
Point guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think they'll be good enough to get into the play-in tournament at the bottom of that ranking. So,
mentioning Rozier, who could use him back, actually, I think is Boston. Because we saw it in the finals. They don't have a true ball handler.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he was their point guard for a couple of years, right? Rozier? Am I misremembering?
He was, yep. 2 years, I think.
Prior to Kemba Walker and Kyrie and whatever. But they could use a point guard like him with a good handle and just kind of distributor.
Yeah, that kind of showed in the playoffs when that Smart wasn't handling the ball or was having trouble handling it. You didn't have anybody else to kind of take the load off of Tatum and Brown. So.
And then once they started making Brown go to his left all the time, I bet you he's working on that this offseason.
Well, they did get Brogdon, so.
Oh, that's a good point. There you go. That is a great acquisition for them.
That's probably their solution for it.
Yeah.
But no, I think the Hornets they'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not gonna make too much noise this year, especially with Bridges out.
Yeah. Next up, I had, and I think we both had them, the New York Knickerbockers in the 11th seed, and it just bums me out. I want that team to be good.
I got a lot of Knicks fans. My family, my wife's side of the family, because they're all out here. So kind of was rooting for them as my East Coast team for a while. It's tough because it seems like they always make the wrong moves, or they don't get the player they're supposed to, or whatnot.
And they were coming on strong when they made the playoffs the other year. Julius Randle was playing really well.
Right.
And then they got to the playoffs, and he did not look good in that series.
No.
And then the whole year after,
he didn't look great last year either. Yeah.
Yeah, so, he kind of
I don't know
regressed.
If he's getting older, maybe some injury stuff with him. They have some nice young pieces.
And they got Brunson now.
They got Brunson
from Dallas, which, like I said, when the Warriors played the Mavericks, and also just when the Mavericks played Phoenix before that, Brunson he's a good player. Clearly, the analytics and metrics and the numbers are all there. He just didn't jump out to me. But he's young. So maybe he'll have this team and be a leader and kind of emerge. It might be tough to stand out when you're playing against when you're teammates with Luka.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think he's a really good complementary piece. Like if he's your your leading scorer or your go-to guy in any kind of game, I don't think that's an ideal situation. Like you said, he was good as like a good second or third to what Luka was doing. So
yeah.
But I liked some of the pieces they have. R.J. Barrett is good young wing, and then Mitchell Robinson is a real promising center. He's kind of a hustle guy, gets in there in the paint. Really good defensive young center. I wouldn't say as good as Mobley, but good, solid defensive player. So they've got some foundational pieces. I think they really thought that they were getting Mitchell. So I'm wondering if that's going to kind of,
And there's very mixed reviews. A lot of people like R.J. Barrett a lot, his potential, but others are pointing out he's not very efficient. And I've heard such a mixed reviews. And
he's young.
He's young.
He's a young wing on a bad team. So it's hard to kind of judge. How did Jordan Poole look year one on the Warriors when they were a bad team?
There was that analysis that he was the worst player in the league or something. In terms
Poole.
of Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
that first year, they said he was one of the worst players in the league just for his. I forget how they measured that, but it wasn't good.
He was bad. He was tough to watch. He would get pulled, and it honestly it looked like he didn't belong in the league, which is why I think,
and he went down to the G League, and then
So,
the year before, at the end of the prior season, and then he came back with a fire lit under him. I think sometimes some guys need do you want to do this? Do you want to be in the league? Because you need to do it now.
You need to be challenged
and play. And wow, now he's throwing pool parties. It's crazy.
You guys have given me that confidence, just to know what it's like to be in a pool party. It's a pool party.
Exactly. So, I think Barrett could be in a situation like that where, he's going to struggle a bit until they get a better team around him, kind of to where he can play more the role he's supposed to play. Because right now, they're asking those guys to do a whole lot, night in, night out, both sides of the ball, be the leading scorer and play great, amazing defense for a team that's not very good. So that's hard to do.
And we are not in general. People are too quick to judge young players. Give them a chance. It's a learning process coming to the league, especially if you're 19 or 20.
100%.
It can take a couple of years to fill it out and kind of gain that confidence.
Yeah.
So, kind of write people off too quickly.
Right. I hope they do well. I'd like to see them, if they could slide into the play-in or something. That would be fun, especially out here. It would make the city, go a little crazy. So
I just think the league is more fun when the Knicks are in the mix.
Just
in general, great fan base. So I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
Next up, I think we have the same order here at this point. I had Detroit, the Pistons.
I actually had Indiana, but I mean,
that's again. You're probably right. That's your list is.
I don't know.
Mine.
I don't know. I just we talked on the last pod about the Western Conference and the Halliburton trade. They got Halliburton. I think that's a nice young piece. I think they're trying to build around him somewhat. They still have Miles Turner, which I know there was a lot of trade talks with him. So I mean, right there you got two real good young players. Buddy Hield still got. Yeah,
and you're right. They do have a solid team.
They drafted
of players. So
they drafted Chris Duarte, which I know that's some of the Warriors were looking at too.
They could definitely sneak into the play-in.
Yeah, or at least be hovering. That's kind of why I had them like right in that range. But
the same applies to Detroit. Cade looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bunch of young pieces.
Yeah,
a bunch of young pieces.
I think all these
they
teams,
can surprise. They start getting better with these young guys who you don't see it coming all the time, but all of a sudden a couple of players emerge quite a bit. They get a year or two under their belt, and all of a sudden Cade looked pretty good as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Fun to watch. So
100%. And he got better as the year went along. I feel like he really struggled in the beginning, which most rookies do. It's hard to account for the speed of the game and for the nightly grind. But
when you're in college or whatever prior, you're the best player on the court and you're running circles around everyone, and then all of a sudden you're like 20 facing some grown ass men, and they're putting you in your place quickly. Welcome to the league, Rook. That kind of stuff. Yeah,
they all go through it. I remember Steph talking about moments like that. Kind of like his welcome to the league moments, and being humbled and kind of having to learn his role and how he had to. He definitely played, I think, but less aggressive than he does now, right? I think he kind of like.
Well, I was not very happy with how Don Nelson handled him his first season or two. He would like bench him late in the game, and you're like, it was clear. I didn't think Steph would be an MVP, but it was clear he was an offensive savant, if you will. Yeah. He'd make a couple of plays, and you're just like, whoa, that's. And then Nelson sitting him, and I'm like, come on. All right, next up. Well, we have two left. We got the Wizards. Did they give that big contract, the Supermax, to Bradley Beal?
Yep.
Which is just again, they could be a little higher than this. You don't really know. It's just they're kind of going through the motions of being the same team. Where
I mean, they have a couple pieces. I mean, they have Kyle Kuzma, who had some flashes, some good games. Do you notice how much we keep commenting and complimenting younger players who were on the Lakers roster at one point, and they all got traded away? Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, Kyle Kuzma.
If they maybe kept some of those players to be with LeBron,
I know more than one Lakers fan who wishes they had gone that route instead of the LeBron era. They did get a title out of it. You can't say they made a mistake, but
you could have done both. You could have,
but
LeBron has always, I don't know how true the late GM stuff is,
right.
But it sure seems like he forces ownership's hand.
Yeah,
I think that goes back to when his first stint in Cleveland, and they did such a horrible job of putting a team around him, that he was kind of fed up, and I have to take this in my own hands. He goes to Miami, and then maybe he realizes, I hope, after last year, actually I don't really care, but with the Westbrook thing, like sometimes you need to let some other people, the GMs, do their job.
Yeah,
because him and AD push for Westbrook, and
They definitely did.
LeBron has this amazing basketball IQ, but in terms of team construction,
yeah, not great.
I just couldn't believe it.
Right.
And so, yeah,
I think he puts a lot of pressure on a GM and ownership because he's constantly in a win now mode, which is
fair. Which is
you
fair.
do want, especially how old, his being that he's one of the older players and knows he doesn't have a long time.
It does seem like he backed off of that, though. He signed the extension with the Lakers this offseason for 2 more years without leveraging, you need to trade those draft picks along with Westbrook and bringing Kyrie or whoever. Right. And they held firm and weren't doing it. And it seems like he kind of backed off on that. So.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to leave LA, his kids out there and he's got that house.
It's one of those things where it's like a double-edged sword. Like, of course you want LeBron on your team, right? But it does come with a lot of kind of caveats, and it could blow up in your face and destroy your team, and he could leave. So there's it is a gamble.
All right. So last of all, we have the Orlando Magic. Gonna be honest, I do not have a lot of thoughts about the Orlando Magic. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough year. They do have a young draft pick who I saw some highlights of. Who I guess Banchero, or I'm not sure how you say his last name. Banchero. He had a lot of highlights in summer league, and I'm hoping he gets the ball a lot and can kind of like show what he's made of this first year. I mean, they're going to be a bad team, but maybe he can get the ball and make some moves. They also have Franz Wagner, who's still there. Markelle Fultz, formerly on the Sixers. So they got some names.
Infamously on the Sixers.
Infamously, right? They drafted him number 1, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of the process. That was the hiccup in the process.
Right. So they're going to be very bad, but I'd like to see Banchero play, against maybe some other rookies and see how he measures up. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Mo Bamba. They have Jalen Suggs too. I guess they drafted him pretty high last year.
Okay.
So
they
got a couple pieces.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Got all our teams covered. And
I have no idea if we're on the right path or not, but we'll find out.
All right. Well, we'll catch up soon and do another pod. We can talk about the MVP race and Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year and that kind of stuff.